Let's see. Oh, there it goes. I believe. All right. Let's see here. This is yeah, there you are. Let me tag you. Ooh, it's hot here in Mexico.
Mhm.
Boom. It's Bobbie. There you are. Okay, boom. Got you.
Great.
Got you taken care of there. Let me just check on the other platforms, make sure they're on. Yeah, there you are. Okay. All right. Oop. I'm going to turn the volume off. Okay. So here we go. It's the third show of the day. We saved the best for last. Everything happens in threes, right? We have the birthday girl in the house, Bobbie Richardson from Brisbane. Uh, we connected not too long ago, and yeah, happy to have
Just
you
a few
here.
days ago.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's so hard to even remember anything now with all this energy, this crazy energy, and everything it's done with time and
Hmm.
just, I don't know. Maybe we're not remembering things because we're becoming more
Don't
present. I
need
don't
to.
know. Right. But yeah, but I've been to your page and I've seen some of your stuff and a little bit
Hmm.
about what you do. But first of all, thanks for coming into Soulogy and sharing space with us, sacred space.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
My
and
pleasure.
I'm looking forward to this. This should be very interesting. And thank you for coming in on your birthday.
Yes.
That's quite an honor as well. Uh,
Well, it's actually fun for me. So I'm like,
yeah.
yay, interview on my birthday. I'm happy with that.
And you do have a screen presence. I mean, you make videos, right? Yeah,
I do.
yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. We can get into that. Why don't we start with uh, did you have a wake up experience or have you always been this weird?
I've been like this all my life. So my
Mm.
mum had a gift where she could see into other frequencies, but she shut it down. She didn't like it. And it was passed down to me. She shut it down on me until I left home. But I did have UFO experiences when I was a kid, and interaction with Palladians.
Well, let's
And
not
then
skip over that too. Let's not skip over that too quick.
there's so many stories. I have
Yeah,
so many stories.
yeah. But I mean, like
That
how?
was during the time of the Kaikoura incident in New Zealand. So I'm from New Zealand and a
Okay.
small town called Kaipoi, just north of Christchurch. And there was a
Oh,
Kaikoura experience in 1978 when I was 11 years old.
what was
Um,
that? What was that about? I mean,
that
I
was
don't.
actually news presenters and that went up on in an aeroplane and documented or filmed these UFOs that were flying around Kaikoura, which was a couple of 3 hours north of my hometown.
Uh-huh.
And as they were flying back to Christchurch, just the UFO followed them nearly to Christchurch. And that's where my hometown was in Kaipoi. And I woke up and saw this big orange ball outside of my bedroom window. And I mean, this sounds egotistical, but I'm just going to tell you the truth of what happened. I was 11. I didn't think of myself as anything. But I had this voice in my head saying, "Yay, we've found her." And then it was sitting there for about, I felt like a good hour as a child watching it. I don't know how long, but then all of a sudden it just took off really, really fast. And I freaked. I absolutely freaked. So I'm sitting in my bed with my hat, my head under the blankets. I did not move one finger. I was so scared and sweat just pouring off me. And then my door opens. And the weird thing is, my father came in. Now, this is weird, I'll tell you why. So, my father came in, he sat on my bed, he didn't say anything, which is not like my father. He took my hand, he calmed me down. I felt a lot better. It felt like my father. And then he got up and he walked out. He didn't say anything. And I asked my father. He said no, he never went in my room that
Isn't that
night.
something? Isn't that
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
And so I've had since then, I mean, I had experiences before then when I was only like 3 or 4 years old where I'd wake up and see things. My mum said, no, you're not to do that because she had it happen to her where she'd wake up and see things that weren't there that others couldn't see.
So,
But when I left home, I ended up taking that and my curiosity just
right.
led me down all of these
How
garden
did how
paths.
did you how did you
Yeah.
find out your mom shut it down? Did she have a talk with you later in life until
She said, well, she shut it down on me until I left home. And when I left home and I was with my fiance in our own house, as soon as I went into that house, boom, 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 all these visions are coming to me
Mm,
at night and telling me things. And they were trying to guide me through an easier path, but
yeah.
I didn't necessarily take that easier path. And then
I don't think any of us
we
did.
ended up expanding. Yeah, sorry. You carry on.
No, no, no. There's a little
I'm
bit of a lag.
interrupting
I
you.
wasn't. No, no, no. It sounds like we're interrupting, but it's not. There's just a bit of a lag sometimes. But no, I was just laughing because I said I don't think any of us took the easy path. Yeah.
Well,
I want.
I think our soul wants to know certain experiences so that we can help others because
Yeah.
my soul, I know now that my soul comes straight from Pleiades. I can remember Pleiades. I was found by a Cherokee elder that was sent by her elders to go around the world and find specific souls from Pleiades. I know the energy very well. So, and that's the being that came and saw me that night. Definitely a
Right.
Palladium.
Right.
If I look back at it now, I see a Palladium, but at
So,
the time I saw my father. Um,
well, that's probably how that
I've had
they.
many other experiences
Yeah.
with them.
So they.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they. But I want to ask you, and then please continue because I want to hear more of it. But you said that at that 11-year-old occurrence, that it was like a orange, was it like a fireball?
It was just an orange ball in the sky.
Okay, just
Um,
an orange
yeah,
ball,
that's all I could
a
say.
solid orange ball. Okay, yeah, because I was
I
just
wouldn't
wondering
say
when
a
you.
solid orange ball. I don't know. Just a
Okay,
light, a big light in the
yeah,
sky.
because
Yeah,
I know like my daughter and I one time we walked outside and we saw it was a red one and a green one, but they were definitely orbs, right? You could clearly see they were balls, and then they came down,
right,
connected, turned yellow, and shot off. But the one
right.
that I was thinking about was two. There were two occasions, and I thought, I wonder if that was. I thought it was something else, but well, one of them was just in June over here, and I looked out my window and the clock literally struck 12, and I saw this. I thought it was a portal.
Yeah,
It looked like a meteor. You know, it looked like an orange fireball, and it just appeared, and then it just exploded. And I
wow.
think that was probably a portal. But another time I saw one, and it was moving, and it kind of looked like a fireball. And I thought, well, maybe that's some kind of meteor or something. But it
Mm.
was horizontal. So I was just wondering. I never heard anyone have an experience where it was like, and I guess I hadn't thought maybe it was something that I didn't think it was. But yeah, so continue. I want to hear
Apparently,
more.
the people that actually were in the aeroplane that went up and filmed it, that was on TV in 1978. There's films on the YouTube about it.
Right.
And they actually saw a UFO, but they saw an orange light as well as a
Okay.
UFO as
Okay. I
well.
see.
So
I
it
see.
was an actual UFO, yeah.
So, okay, keep going. So what happens now?
Oh my gosh. So much has
So
happened.
you get married, you move in your own house, you turn it back on, and then it's never stopped.
It's never stopped. Oh, yes, it did. Well,
Right.
let me explain. When I turned 50, I literally got shown that that was the end. So we jump into the end here. There's a lot that happened in the middle of all of that. And they said that was the end of the visions. I've only had a couple of visions since then. So I still have the ability, but it's not like in my face all the time, every week kind of thing. They said to me, you're going to learn to channel. So that's then what happened is they'd wake me up and they would send me a message. And it was so beautiful and so profound that I used all my abilities to be able to create a video of it. And that's how Codes to a New Reality started. So I started the website and my YouTube, Bobbie the Messenger. then. But I've recently added codes to a new reality, just messages from them to help us awaken even more. It's called hidden codes. So all these hidden codes are coming to me now, and I'm putting them up on the videos
Okay.
as we
So
speak.
you
So
so 8 years ago you start channeling at their direction. This is the Pleiadians, right?
there was quite a few that came to me in between. It wasn't just Palladians
Okay. But
that came to me. I had
the ones that you're channeling, is it a multi
there's a council. There's a
okay,
council.
right,
So
right.
I would call it my higher self, the Palladians. There's the Cyanians, which are Blu-ray beings coming from Pleiades that are higher in frequency. So they reside very close to oneness. So they see a different perspective. All of these
Mm,
beings see different perspectives, and they're
mm,
all truths to their own, journey of what they've gone on. But to get all those perspectives, pull them together into one and be able to get a full message, to be able to express that, it can come through many ways. So there's the Palladians, the Cyanians, the Arcturians. I do have discussions with them. And also I've had these visitors from the Anunnaki. I have had visits from the Lyrans. I've had quite a few different ones.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's because when I could see things, it's literally everyone kind of wanted to have a chat with me. And so I got to know their frequencies through those years. And one of the things that happened is I got so bombarded by all of these messages that I said, hang on, like this is enough. And they said, well, you'll have to take the reins. That means you have to ask the questions from now on if you're going to take the reins. So I asked a question, and the question was, what's humanity's true history? And that lined me up for 10 years of every 2 years, 2 or so years, I got these beings that came in, starting off with there was four of them that were to do with the history of humanity. So it started off with the Draconians, the reptilians. I had to get through them first to be able to acknowledge the other beings that were going to come in, because that was facing my fear. I had to learn to face my fear. So there's all
So it
these
wasn't
stories
so it wasn't
about,
based on, like, let's just say, the sequential or the chronology. You had to go through the draconians, the reptilians first in order to equalize the fear so you could then proceed. Yeah, okay.
yes, because then when I could face them and knew my power, they taught me my power in the end. Not because they taught it to me, but because they attacked me and I recognized what my power was.
Mm,
So I woke up and I saw one coming towards me and I was like, don't come any closer. This sort of thing, sometimes I could smell, taste,
hmm.
it just, all my senses were there as if they were real. It's not, I mean, I didn't taste them, but but you know what I'm saying. Bit of a wrong thing to say there, but
um,
but as this thing was coming towards me, sat on my bed, he tried to put some pills in my mouth, and it was disgusting. But I remember thinking, no. And this is the will of man. It doesn't matter who you are. You are source energy anyway. So you
right,
can will yourself out of any experience. And I just went no. And when you say no with that much determination from your soul as well as your body, something will happen. And I did
right,
not know. I let go because I didn't know how to get myself out of it. I just said, I don't know how to get out of it. I'm not trying to logify this. I'm just going to see what happens, but it's not going to happen. And what happened was all of my chakra points, I didn't see the chakra points going into one ball, but I felt like they were. And a big white ball of light, which I did see, exploded out of my chest. And this being, it's literally like I raised my energy up and this being disappears. And
right,
then I ran outside, put my hands on the dirt, took some deep breaths, went back in the room and went to sleep. I
right.
wasn't going to let it beat me. And from then on, I'm like, well, they'll be more afraid of me than I am of them. So I'm now got now I've evened my energy to them. There is no nemesis outside of us that isn't equal to us because we are all source energy going on a journey trying to scramble to learn something. So anything that you think is a negative thing outside of you is just showing you your power. You just haven't taken it back for yourself. And when you take it back, you're at equal giving. That means there is no one more powerful or less powerful than you. So that means you're all at the same, that none avoids the danger. Yeah. And you always
Yeah,
find a
I
way
agree.
out.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, everything outside
Mm.
of us is, yeah. And yeah, definitely. Now, okay, so okay, I think I'm okay. So at 50, when did it happen that
This
you,
this happened around 30. So a lot happened to me around 30.
okay, but this was the part about the you when you asked the question, what is the true history? Okay, so what did that take
Yeah.
you? Can you give like a summary of that? Like how far did they go back? Did they go back to the beginning, or did they
Yes.
go? Okay, so can you
They
kind of
went back to pretty much the beginning of the shift that created humanity. So they went back to the universe. It's always the multiverse. We call it a
right,
universe.
right,
It's a multiverse, right? Um, this universe that we live in was had a lot of lions and vegans. They were the beings that they told me that were the creator beings of this universe. They got to the pinnacle of creation. Like they could create Dyson stars. They were just amazing, but their bodies were quite weak. They didn't need to have strong bodies because it wasn't, they were just creating a lot. And then on the other side, there was this other dimension where the Draconians were living in another frequency. They got to the edge of their frequency where they were really strong. They were doing the outer world, like using material to create. And then they got to the edge of their as far as they could go. It's kind of like logic getting to the furthest point,
right.
and
The
our
yeah,
intuition getting to the furthest
yeah,
point, right? So they ended up coming together because source energy and its primeness of wanting to create and carve a new path brought them in like a portal for
yeah.
Draconians coming into this reality.
Like the
And the
like
first thing
poor.
they did was
Yeah.
we want to see a planet. We want a planet. The Lyrans turned around and said, no, we don't even know you. And so the first thing Draconians to do is blow it up. So
Right.
they know all about blowing up and all that
So
sort of
this
thing
this was the original. So what you're describing, I mean, other people
way
have
back.
yeah. I mean, you're describing the original wars, basically. You know,
Yeah.
the
So
Ryan to the Ryan.
yeah, and this is what I was showing from different values because these beings came and told me their different stories. And then they ended up being scattered. The Lyrans, sorry, ended up being scattered. Oh, we've got to strengthen our DNA. So they started to manipulate with DNA and looking for planets with different beings on it that they could strengthen their DNA with, because they knew that they'd never be able to fight, like physically fight these Draconians, which were teaching them all more about the physical world, where they would be teaching the Draconians more about the etherical world and that sort of thing. So, anyway, they ended up both at one time or another finding Earth and infusing DNA, playing around with the humans and that sort of thing until we become who we are. But there's a lot more story to that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
definitely.
otherwise we'll
Yeah.
be sitting here for
No, no,
ages
no,
going,
no. I just think it's. I've not heard this type of personal version of it, but it makes a lot of
right.
sense. It's almost like you're some kind of galactic historian or something, and they found you. But to be able to get the different perspectives, I think is what I'm talking about. Like I'm
Mhm.
familiar with, you know, because enough people have challenged it, not challenged it, channeled it or transmitted it. You know, you pick up bits and pieces of it. Yeah. So, but that's interesting the way that happened for you. So that's it. That's in the 30ish range. And then you're told 8 years ago, you're not going to be getting this from us anymore. Now you're going to
We want you
channel.
to channel.
So
And
you,
so
oh,
yeah.
yeah. And you start a YouTube channel at that time, right?
Yeah, I had a YouTube channel up for ages, but I hardly did anything with it. And then I just decided, well, they'd wake me up with these beautiful messages on how to get out of the matrix and all of this sort of stuff. And so I started to put this Codes to a New Reality videos together. It would take like 2 weeks, and then as
Mm.
soon as I'd published it, boom, they'd download another
So
message.
this is the second channel that you're talking about.
So
Okay.
no, this is right at the beginning with my first channel.
Okay. The first channel
And
is
that's Bobbie
called,
the Messenger,
that's right.
and
That's
and
right.
my website, which is Codes to a New Reality. So I had
Okay.
those two going.
Right.
And then what happened is I ended up going through a terrible breakup, really nasty, and I just went, that's it. I'm over just doing for others. You know how you
And
get
they're
to
like,
that point, like they
yeah,
really do break you to
yeah,
the point.
I'm sure they allowed you to make that decision and just not bother you
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. I learned a lot of value from the relationship. I don't, but it was a very volatile, not a nice position to be in. And then I just ended up with my two girls. I've been pretty much a single mum all my life with two sets of family. And I just went, that's it. I'm going to go live. I just went, I'm over it. I'm going live. And so I started to channel live, and then these channel messages started
So
to become a lot easier.
you're channeling live. You're not channeling the information and then sharing the information later. You're channeling on the spot.
Yes, so I do get messages through the week which I bring up sometimes, and
Hmm.
then but I always channel live as well. So
Hmm.
you'll see both. Because sometimes during the week when they come up, I'm not, I can't get to the
Yeah.
camera, so I
Yeah.
write them down. I'll bring them up, and then they go deeper. And yeah, I mean, I've got a small following, but the following I've got really, really support me to the point where they took me to New York from Australia,
Yeah.
paid for everything, and
Yeah.
I did 3 presentations over in New
Yeah.
York just gone.
Well,
So it's just been an amazing journey. My journey's
let me just say this, and this just came in. These things are happening so synchronistically. But I had an old friend of mine that we've done work going back several years, and actually met in person. But he was on yesterday, and as I was waiting for you to come on, because we were talking about what had we both been online for quite some time, right? And I was telling him how things have changed, how, it's not, the numbers aren't showing what they used to show, and something doesn't add up. And I was saying that, what I'm hearing in my own experience is, and I'm talking about, in my connections with my aspects, is that it's all upside down. Don't worry about it. It's not about the high volume of, it's not those are lesser in the energetic field. The real impact would be someone like you or someone like him or maybe in someone like Solji. Because I'm noticing this time in this year that
so it's
the algorithms don't look the same. It doesn't look the same. And it's interesting because was sending me these notes. He goes, man, it was so cool to compare numbers about our communities and kind of get some validation. Oh, you're seeing the same thing happening because he saw the same thing happen with his stuff, right? And then I was reading the very last part of his message, and he was talking about that he ran it through Chat GPT, and it was talking about some of the. I haven't read it all, but I think there's something to it, and I'm just making it a point that that old saying of "bigger's not better" isn't just BS. I mean, the energetic impact that you're having and people like you are having is far. It's the opposite of what we think. And I remember back in like 2016. Like I started doing these shows in 2017, and so I remember it was actually Lionsgate of 2016, and a bunch of aspects came in, and one was like the like the consciousness of Mother Mary, who's always been like with me, I guess you would say, since I was a kid. And she said, for every engagement you see, multiply it times 50,000. And so they were already explaining that then. So I really feel like that your story is much bigger than it may seem. And
yeah.
that's another thing I've gotten is
There's
don't
there's
try.
been definite things that I've gone through that are so profound that you just can't you can't deny the fact that there's some sort of impact happening. I mean, I've had premonition dreams of going to Uluru, which is a giant mountain in the
Yeah.
middle of Australia that's very sacred. And then straight after that, the very next morning after having the dream, I ended up having David Icke saying, "Who wants to go with me to Uluru?" And then straight away after that, my name's pulled out of the hat. Like it's just so quick. And then I'm in Uluru, in the mountain, and I was told never to go into the mountain. And I said, I want to respect and honor all of the original people. I don't want to go in unless it's supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, who I thought was the bus driver, who was the one that was saying you shouldn't go in, drags me into the mountain. We ended up having a profound experience in there. And when I get out, it's not him, it's
Yeah.
somebody else. It's just, I've had so many of these weird experiences, meeting Cherokee elders that's held my hand and then talk to me telepathically. So I
Mm.
can tell people this is real. We
Yeah.
can really, truly do this. This is
Yeah, of
not
course.
just something that's whimsical anymore. We've got
Yeah.
to go back to the original language of telepathy. We have to learn to feel again.
Yeah.
And we haven't, we've not learned to feel properly enough to be empathic enough to be able to connect enough to be able to realize who we are in the cosmos of
Yes.
everything. It's so much more.
Here, here. No, no, I'm with you 100,000
Yeah.
percent. Especially on this, I'm very passionate about this whole thing with the empath thing because for years and years, everyone, I'm an empath, I'm an empath, I'm an empath, and yet we're not utilizing. We're just
Yeah.
beginning to utilize the empathic superpower. And how do you do that? You do that by feeling. You're right. This is exactly how it
Yeah.
works. It's instinct. It's innate and it serves us because it is direct, it's clear
Yes.
and it's true, and there's no distortion or fogginess in the middle. It's these experiences too, right? Like doing this show for so many years, this is the whole thing is people hearing people's experiences. Like I remember a lady wrote me one time and she said, a lot of people would write, especially during the COVID years, and they'd be like, man, you saved my life. I thought I was crazy. I didn't know there was anyone else out there like me. And this lady wrote
Mm,
me and she said, I was watching, I came onto your show. I mean, came onto the channel. I was watching the show and the lady was talking about ET visitations and how they like your story, and they came into the room and da 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 da. And she said, I never had anything like that happen to me, but I knew I was home because it's happened with the elementals with me. I see the
mm,
fays and the elvins come in and the dragons come in and
mm.
the unicorns come
Stories
in.
about them too.
And so I found it remarkable because here's a lady who's never had ET type of encounters, yet she sees the common ground,
Mm,
in the experiences she's had with the elemental world. So yeah, I do feel it's very important to get the information out there, the stories out there, because, and
mm.
maybe that's why they're not up in the algorithms. You know what I mean? With all the clickbait titles and the big platforms with hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
people, because it's almost like a harmless thing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, you see uh,
Well, something that you
channels.
have to face yourself. If you have to
Yeah,
face yourself, it's where people will just turn around and go, well, we want the easy way out. We don't actually want to face ourselves.
right,
And you have to face yourself. And I'm the
right.
sort of person who will be like, you have to face yourself.
Yes. Yes,
So,
that's a
I mean,
great
and
point.
that's not
Yeah.
really, something that people would generally want to unless they really are keen on doing this inner work. And that's where we're needing to go
Yeah.
instead
Well,
of,
that's what's happening,
yeah,
right? By force or by flow, we're being well, this
directed.
is the apocalypse. The Greek meaning is revealing, unveiling, and I feel like that's what you're bringing across, and what these stories bring across is exactly what you're saying. It's not the collective uh, revealing, although that is an effect of us being the cause of it, by doing our own peeling back the onion and revealing ourselves and facing
I think
ourselves, like you
there's
said.
going to be a divine timing and a flip of all of this anyway, because
Mm,
we're learning to raise our vibration into a higher experience. We are changing the story. We are learning
mm,
to change a story.
mm.
And a lot of the messages I'm getting now, all to do with learning to change the story from within us. And when we do that, we're automatically going into the abundance of what could be in reality rather than following the old matrix program of you have to work till you die. And all of your energy gets leaked into
Right.
their games
Right.
and so
Do
forth.
you feel
Yeah,
like part of the messages that you're receiving here lately that have to do with rewriting the story, uh, you know, seeing the story in a different way, creating the story, but do you feel like there's an element that of it that, so to speak, changes the past?
changes the past.
Yes. Like an element of it.
Um,
In other words, say you and I have a connection and that
yeah,
connection goes the old way and it's, it's not a great thing or whatever. And we can go,
yeah.
yeah, I value the experience, but to look at that differently. And now
Yes,
once you
that's
look at that,
exactly right.
okay,
Yes,
okay, that's
because
what I'm
what
saying.
happens is when you yourself goes back into the past and you as a frequency being that's understood a lot more, you've learned, you've grown, you've
Mm,
matured, and then you go back into the past, say you were a teenager and some disaster happened, you could go back to that and become your own savior.
right,
So, so that's what that's all about, isn't changing the past because now you're seeing it from a different perspective.
right.
But you're also your own savior. Did it happen? Well, yes, but it's all entangled into the person that's evolving into a higher aspect of themselves and understanding who they are from a fuller comprehension. So you end up becoming your own savior.
Mm,
And sometimes that's what we're actually waiting for, ourselves to save ourselves
mm-hmm,
in the end. So yeah, we do. We shift, but it's shifting perspective. It's seeing a broader, it's seeing an expansiveness of the whole rather than just that this is what happened to me and that's all I feel because that's what I was taught to feel. So I have to feel that because somebody's expecting it of me.
right.
I have to cry myself to sleep because that happened. And then someone on the other side of the world had exactly the same experience, but they're taught, no, this is a lesson for you and now you can shift it really quickly and you don't have to cry because you're actually, you see it from a different place. So relevance is here in
Yeah,
that respect of how
yeah,
we produce and but the next story that we're developing is a whole of humanity's consciousness up leveling into this whole other frequency, shifting out of a story that is it is done, it is dusted, it is no
yeah,
longer needed.
yeah.
We have learnt the lesson was all to do with learning about our physical self. How far can we create in this physical separated world in a logical manner. How far can we go with that? Well, we've come to the pinnacle of it because we literally have AI as an example of returning back to source energy, even within the Willow computer and all of that. Voyager that went on a message, had messages coming through it that was all to do with the expansion of awareness, and whoever observed it ended up finding new things out about themselves from their own mirror reflection. There's a whole heap of messages coming through at the moment.
Go ahead, bring them in.
Yeah, so
Bring them in
so
now.
we're literally learning all over again. What do we want it? But what we have to be asking ourselves, what do we want to ground? Because it's grounding our soul now into this experience that we have carved our way through. The separated world that we've in the linear world that we've carved now. How can we bring the love in? How can we bring the soul in, which is love?
Hmm.
And really utilize this in a way where we can knock out all of our fences and have faith and trust in each other because we have faith and trust in our own choices and who we
Hmm.
allow in. We have our own boundaries within ourselves. We don't need the fences anymore. We can
Hmm.
knock them down because we have them within ourselves.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've always struggled with that, with the whole cord cutting thing and the boundary thing, because how can you detach from something you're always connected to? Like if we know that's where we're going to end up, aren't we kind of wasting our time at a certain point? Because I mean, we all have to, like, strengthen our position, and sometimes you got to put up a boundary so you can, have the time for yourself. And then you're right, we take the fences down later. Uh, in regard to
But
the
the boundaries aren't as in the boundaries are more to do with our inner core aspect of what we choose and what we don't choose to allow to come into our reality, and we take full responsibility of that. So we're
yes,
just making new choices
yeah, that's
now
like
of what
you walking into a cafeteria and you're going to get your dessert part of the meal, and you pick the one you want, and the ones
yeah,
you don't want, you just because
you don't
you don't
want, but you don't
like
give
the
any
good side.
attention to it. You don't
Uh,
resist it. You
yeah,
don't
no, I
turn
get
around
that.
and say,
Yeah.
I hate that dessert because you're already
Right. Now,
giving some sort of storyline to it.
what
Yeah.
about this is just my curious mind, because I have my own
Yeah.
inclinations, but uh, regenerating, growing younger, living longer. And I don't mean like 5 generations out. I mean like the level of our transformation that's happening at a cellular atomic level is so, at a minimum, such
Yeah.
an infinite potential that truly anything's possible. And I've seen
Mhm.
plenty of evidence in the work that I do of people that have had healings. Obviously, you've run into them. You've probably been a part of them. Where their bodies are doing stuff that doesn't make sense, like it shouldn't be happening. It's just like the above telepathy is what I call it. That new communication that has so many different streams that is feeling based, um,
Mm.
just as other things, mental, emotional, etheric, physical, would parallel that.
Well, they always show me, I think you've frozen for a
It's
minute there.
okay.
Sorry. Anyway,
It's
you're
okay.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
But they always show me the more that we bring in or love ourselves, the more that ourselves get lit up by the soul. So the
Right.
soul wants to then have an experience in the body. And if the soul wants to have an experience in the body, it's going to automatically heal those cells into its original state that it's supposed to be in. And
There you go.
it stays longer because it wants to stay in this body longer. It's only because humans don't want to stay in this reality that they opt out, that the soul leaves, even like they don't have much to do with their soul. They don't have much love in their world or anything like that. And then this soul ends up being disembodied, but it isn't because it is part of their body. So their body feels like it's not loved. And then what happens when you don't feel loved?
Mm.
You end up getting sick, dis-ease. You end up having dis-ease around yourself. And so you will create even an accident. You will drive yourself into problems because your body will find a way, your soul will find a way through your body to leave. And it's also the suggestions that are telling me the suggestions that with a program pulled over us of you're at a certain age, you have to get old. And I'm literally going through that at this moment. Like I've just turned 58 today, and I'm like, now I've got to get through these suggestions or this program that, oh my God, 60, I'm going to get old, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. It's yes, your body goes through changes, but if you accept those changes for what they are in the moment, then you have way more control over it than what you do if you hate them.
Right.
And yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, that the whole self, we were talking about it on the last show, like the whole self-talk. As if, and quite possibly in a replication, you know, uh I am the voice of this universe
yes.
that I that's contained in this physicality. I speak to all the cells. I
Yeah.
speak to, so I guess, anything is possible. I've just wondered if some of the messages that you've been receiving recently, 'cause let me ask you
They're
this.
telling me, I'll just jump in because
Oh,
sometimes I get
go
channel messages, so I
go
jump
go
in
for it. Go
sometimes.
for it. We want to hear it.
They're telling me that as humanity starts to develop into a higher frequency or more love being grounded into their cells, more of us will live longer because of that. There's more of us in this world that are holding that frequency. So we become
It's
that
contagious.
wants to live longer on the earth and experience this. It's just a natural given
Yeah.
that you heal yourself as well as the humanity's healing. as you are healing. So it's the same thing.
Right.
They're showing me it being like a mirror, a micro to the macro
Mm.
more than a mirror, micro to the macro. So you as your individual self, healing yourself and learning to heal yourself, you raise yourself into a frequency where those that are around you live longer as well. Everyone starts to become that. The reality expands into wanting to be here longer. And so you can then navigate this reality not through work ethics, but through imagining and grounding new imaginations into this world to create beauty everywhere. Because we're way happier when we're filled with beauty. That's why we love flowers and nature and all of that sort of stuff. But we also, they're showing me an expansion to the elemental world that was completely severed from us because they had they were the energy fragments of plant life itself returning into or becoming a entity in its own right to be able to communicate with humanity. And so when we just went no to that, we then it became an etheric kind of a world where we weren't in that frequency anymore to be able to get the telepathic communication. And so they become meddlesome. And so in the fairy tales, there was ones that hung on and they become meddlesome. They won't be meddlesome anymore because they'll know their journey is a response to humanity's
Mm-hmm.
growth and learning. And
Mm-hmm.
we're now communicating again. There's so much more. It's not just an expansion of awareness of what's out there
Yeah.
in the universe and all of those beautiful beings, but it's also to do with here on earth and inner earth and earth herself as a heartbeat and oh yeah, so much more
Well,
expansion
it would
here.
make, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, and it's like, the way that they told you about the history of humanity. Like you had the different perspectives, and that's why this is I don't want to call it a job, but a passion, because it's certainly,
It is literally a job
but you hear,
because you
you
have to go
hear,
through a lot to be able to
right?
get those messages, face
Right.
a lot of your own fears.
Well, I'm just saying, like I've been able to hear a lot of people's different perspectives of really one story that's becoming more obvious as the days go by. It's the same story, and I find that the best part of it is the real time information, like what's applicable now, because
Yes.
every day it changes, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean we get to a higher truth
Mhm.
today, and then tomorrow there's a higher truth than there was today.
That's
So we,
right.
we become
So you
more and
can
more
go
clear.
back into the history and get all these different perspectives. That's why they gave me four different beings that came to me. So it was the Draconians first, the
Mm,
Palladians next, the Anunnaki, and then the Lyrans. And they all came over the span of 10 years
mm,
and gave me, different pieces of information and I felt into their story and stuff like that. So each one had a different perspective of humanity and
mm.
and the journey. It's and I didn't get like some of the in-depth stuff. I got enough for me to be able to. There's probably people out there that have even more understanding of that.
What are the messages? What are the themes of the messages, particularly like over this summer? Because this summer seems to be like a fire of purification. Everybody's
Yeah.
got their feet to the fire. Everybody's having to face themselves, whether they like it or not. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people in isolation.
What
What kind of
happens
message?
is this energy comes in. Sorry, I have to apologize for
No, no,
jumping
no.
over.
You don't need to
But if I
apologize.
get a channel message, it's like I don't want it to disappear. Um, and now it's going to disappear.
It'll come back.
But it is to do with, no, what was I saying? Something to do with the energy coming here. Oh, that's right. The same energy coming here from the sun or the central galaxy. There's the same energy will come towards humans, and it just depends on you and where you are in your position, your growth as to how it's going to affect you. So you could have that same beautiful energy of more love coming towards you, but if you haven't faced all the demons within yourself that is hidden yourself from that love, you'll be faced with that outside of yourself. And so then you'll have a lot of trauma coming up for you to really go, yeah, but you can't be looking at somebody else to save you. You have to turn this
Yeah.
around and
Yeah.
see it yourself.
Yeah. Of
And,
course.
and so they'll go through that. Then there's the ones that are already done that work. Like for me, for instance, and others. And now I'm learning how to ground more abundance because I've mastered the etheric world, but I have not mastered this physical world. And now we're being asked to ground more of
Hmm.
our soul, more abundance, who we are, see it in this real world. So we're building businesses. We're starting to create our
Hmm.
own flourishing, abundance coming towards us in a physical way. And so that's starting, like I'm getting messages about it, but as I'm getting messages about it, I'm relaying it on my channel, especially the new channel, Codes to a New Reality. It's on YouTube. I'm putting them up, but I'm still going through these lessons because it's like, oh my God, that's so profound. I totally feel that. I totally understand it. It's so the truth. Write it down and then share it out. But I'm still working through grounding this as
Hmm.
well. Um, so we're going to go through grounding more of our own utopia on earth. And that's going to then spark the ones that are coming up that are still doing the shadow work, especially if you're a very masculine orientated person. You'll be going through more shadow work now because the feminine went first. They show me that in this
The
profound way.
feminine, the feminine side of us, right? The feminine
Because
side of
it's
us went first. Yeah.
feminine, yeah, the feminine side of us, within us, we have
Hmm.
both.
Yeah.
And that's the imaginative, intuitive side, because the imaginative side was held hostage by the program. And so now we're taking the reins back of that and we're using the imagination to be able to carve a new path. But then it has to be grounded by the stability of the masculine or the logical mind to say, yes, I want to ground this. Yeah, so I was showing that a long time ago where I actually went through a portal and a dream. Some of these dreams feel so real. And I
Well, they are
ended up near
real.
the beach and it was like nighttime and there was all these stars in the sky and I was with a masculine friend of mine. And I'm looking up at the stars and going, oh my God, they all turned to fish and they're falling into the ocean. Oh my God, we're in a story within a story. Like we're literally in a matrix within a matrix here.
Mm.
And then he lied down on the beach, and I knew I had to lie on top, like we had to come close together. This is to do with our hemispheres of our brain acknowledging ourselves as
Hmm.
both that practical playing field and the imaginative persona within us. So as I lied down, he said, I'm going back to earth, going into this reality again. I was going to wake up. And I said to him, from my feminine side, yeah, that's great, but you have to let me lead because we need to shift the story. So if we shift the story, we have to then take back the reins to our imagination. What do we want to create here? So we have to create a brand new story by using our imagination, visualizing, remembering that reality in itself is just energy anyway. And so let's disperse of the energy that we don't want to have in our vortex and start focusing in on what we do. And then allowing that, asking ourselves, how do we ground that? How do we ground that? And asking the masculine, you've got a job to do now. You do have a job to do. You don't have to overpower the imagination to feel important. You have a job to create something new in a tangible way in this physical world, which is all source energy in itself, just creating and carving a new path. Sorry, kind of got carried away there with that channel
No, no,
message.
no. You're good. You're good. No, I just yeah, I mean, like I said, you get it's all converging to the same story, the same experience. And so
Yes.
hearing all the different narratives, the different channelings and transmissions is I find it very helpful. Just like I just found it kind of an analogous towards those four species that came and spent time with you over that 10 years with the four different perspectives. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, and I can see where like what I was referring to with this summer was not necessarily burn baby burn as in, and I know of people that have, had to go through a lot or whatever the case is. What I meant was that somebody turned up the heat in the sense of if it felt like it was warm and something's kind of, coming in, but I can't quite fit. No, it's coming in full blast now. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like there's no argument here. Like
Yeah.
it's going to show itself in a way it's never shown itself. And I look at things like this, like this where we come from and what we're creating, like what we're merging. You might call it free will and universal will. There is no ownership. There's no possession. There's no
Mm-mm.
trademarks. There's no copyrights. There's no mortgages.
Can't take it
You
with
know,
you when you pass on.
that's right. So the whole point is, I feel that
It's
those
a
things
distraction.
are going to have, they're going to be part of this transformation. I mean, it's going to
Mm,
be a literal experience in terms because it is a physical matter experience. The question is, look, if we were living, if who was it, Noah, Methuselah, and that was just 3 or 4 5,000 whatever 10,000 years ago, living 1,000 years, 800 years, 900 years, that was nothing. That was like yesterday. So
mm,
if we have all that information, all that consciousness, all that experience with us, and we're starting to wake up to as well, I mean, our potential isn't going to be limited by Atlantis or whatever came before. Our potential is part of the new creation codes, I guess you would say.
mm,
Like so, we really
mm.
the sky's the limit, and I do agree with
Yes.
you. The imagination,
Yes.
creativity, intuition. Um,
It's definitely a huge journey. I wanted to experience oneness,
mm,
and and I ended up having this experience of oneness. It was very profound. Um, and I ended up seeing oneness as a Taurus energy, and I saw the whole of humanity going on a journey, and there was just a core aspect of love that split itself into godzillions of sources of energy of different life forms. But also, if you just take it from the humanity's consciousness, humanity went on this journey of learning first all about that right hemisphere, that feminine, intuitive, balanced hemisphere that actually was connected to everything, connected to source energy, understood all of that. But we also had materialized this practical playing field, which we didn't know too much about. So if you go back to the Atlantis Lemuria age, there's a couple of things there that were tangible, but a lot of it was held by frequency. So when the beings died, so too did the frequency patterns and so forth. It got actually a lot of it got trapped into ice as well. So that's to be released into the water that we consume, and we'll start to awaken to those new memory bases as well to be able to bring them back. That's a whole other story. So then they show me that ended up being diminished by uh, the rising of the masculine energy, wanting to know how to create a physical reality, more physical reality. So we had the persecution of the witches and that sort of thing that happened during that era. And that's so if you want to put it in a time sort of a concept. And then as we got in, what I saw is when I had the experience, it was 2020, March 2020, and we were just entering the vortex, the very top. You know what happened there, right? We
yeah,
all got returned
exactly.
home.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So we all got returned home. So in that space there that we ended up entering that vortex, we had to then face ourselves. It had nothing to do with anyone outside of us because that was the program we just came from that was only focusing outside of us. So I saw it as a quickening coming to the central point where it's just love itself. We were going to meet with the love of ourselves again. And from there, a whole new story, a whole new game, a whole new, like we're not even on a checkerboard anymore. We're not on a chessboard anymore. We can create really what we want through the lessons that we've already learned. So we're literally developing another part of our brain. They're telling me we'll probably develop another part of our brain where it becomes even more understanding from a higher dimensional aspect of what we could become. And it could be something that we don't even fathom at the moment, but it can become more. So that's a really interesting channel message there. understanding that something that was held or retained within us or in our brain that we would have seen as nothing. That's showing me like the pineal gland that was in 1900 seen as nothing at one stage, and now they're seeing it as it's very valuable. Actually, having there's even more than that. They're going to find more medical evidence of something to do with the way that we channel and connecting with more. That yeah, so there's just a whole heap more that's going to come through. And it's going to change everything. Humanity is evolving into another story. And that's just the way it is. And if you go through that source energy part, you have to then look at every aspect of yourself that you didn't love, everything that you didn't love about who you are in your experience. What resistance do you have to this world? What do you hate? This is why it's so difficult for people as they go through it. And this summer, this from here on out, we're already on that transit of coming back to ourselves as love as that point, but there's some of us that are breaking through, some of us that are piercing that veil, some of us that are actually going into these different dimensional aspects, and they are going to be the driving force, literally like all the grains of the sand coming through the hourglass. It was one of the pictures that I actually drew way back, like 15 years ago, when I said I want to know a premonition picture. I drew a hourglass of, and I didn't even know about a torus field or anything then. But they showed me the grains of sand coming through. There'll be like unplugging through the beings that have come here from higher dimensions straight into this story now, because now they are really close to the understanding of all these other different stories that humanity shut themselves off from. They will awaken those stories like Atlantis, Lemuria, or even more Palladians, all sorts of different beautiful, wonderful stories that we could, if we want to, ground. That my team is telling me they don't even know exactly where humanity is going to go. Like
Yeah.
you cannot put that in a jar at the moment. It
Yeah.
is so malleable at the moment, but they're seeing cracks of beauty starting to shine through
Yeah.
with the realization that there are people out there that are actually holding these codes and they're taking them somewhere that's beautiful and they can develop from that.
Okay, so this is like, and again, a lot of this I've heard, okay, and experienced as well. And I have a curious mind, and this is how it works. And you said something, and I look for things uh, that I haven't heard or I haven't seen elaborated. And so you brought something up. So first of all, you have, by your own admission, you're this type of person, and there are many out there because we all know that the feminines in form have been the vast majority of these groups like Soulogy. And many of them who never come out have these type of connections. And you might say that, use the term, I've mastered the etheric. So I would say that they have a very a strong foundational connection with the etherics. This is our feminine senses, right? The higher
Mm.
chakras and so on. Now, you said that, like in your own case, now it's to ground. It's
Mm.
to
Sorry, it's
self.
frozen.
Oh, can you
You
hear me,
froze
Doc?
for a bit there.
Can you hear me? Can
You
you hear?
can now.
Okay, but so what you said that was different, and I just want to get some explanation. Knowing that those aspects that give us this information have been there, and let's just call that etheric. Um, you said that as we come back into ourselves, that there is going to be aspects that we can connect to, right? That we can connect to as a result of, I guess you could say it a lot of ways, but loving ourselves more, coming back to ourselves, and therefore opening up the treasure chest that involves. What is the difference between the aspects up here delivering the information to us and the ones that we find inside of ourselves? Is that a question? Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Okay.
So there's two programs running that have been resisting and opposing each other, like not really working together. They call that the warring zone. That's why we've had wars in this reality. We're living in our own consciousness in a warring zone of the practical playing field, the program pulled over us by looking outside of ourselves for a leader or a guide, saying that somebody else is more important. All of that sort of stuff is held or retained within that logical masculine mind, as well as a lot of really incredible, beautiful things that we've grounded. Then the other side is more to do with that imaginative, intuitive. I feel, I know, I just know this, but I don't know how. There's nothing in this life that is showing me this path. It's just something that I know. But those ones find this world really hard because they have to fit into a program that's supposing going against what their soul is telling them. So we're coming to the point now where we're starting to realize the soul, what is the soul really feeling, and how can we change the story so that our logical mind can actually ground that story so we can actually be in the beauty of what our soul wants to, like swim in the beauty of what our soul is in a grounded fashion, like create the homes, create the businesses, create the communities, the beautifulness with Mother Earth, the freshness of the
Right.
fruit and all that sort of stuff. We're not looking just outside of ourselves
Right. Right.
anymore, asking
So,
ourselves to
so
come
I
back.
think I think I get what you're saying. This is my specialty. But so I think
Yeah, but
I
you've got the two, right? And one's more grounded with the grounded stuff, the masculine.
right,
And then the other one's more, and we're learning to come together. This is where the relationships are all going to change because when you change it within here,
right,
within your own consciousness, oh my logical mind loves that imagination. Let's
right.
ground it. Oh, but it's not in this world. Holy crap, how's that going to happen? Yeah, but we're going to do it because it's so beautiful.
So okay,
Let's just do it.
so
See what
what
I'm
I'm
saying?
getting, so what I'm yes, that's what I want to restate it just to make sure I can understand it. So essentially, what you're saying is okay. So we have these aspects up there, and everybody talks about it, and everybody experiences it pretty much in different ways. I always ask them questions. I don't just accept everything. I check everything out. Everybody's
Hmm.
different, and I don't think anybody can really put themselves in the other person's shoes when it comes to that. But the bottom line is, we listened. This is how all the crazy people got to this place. Crazy isn't crazy anymore, and so what I'm getting is as we face ourselves, you call it the grounding, uh, I was wondering what are the aspects that are opening up because they're not up there, they're here. And now, as I'm listening to you, I get it. And what it is basically is we're directly affecting that warring zone that you're talking about. We have this dual personality in a polarity, okay? And you have the one side and the other side, and they've been at odds with each other, and that's a very easy thing to understand because as humans, even someone like you or me, how many times have we said, "Get me the hell out of here, I'm done." You know what I mean? Like I can't do it anymore. And then you have the other side that kind of says to the masculine side says, "Man, you sure take a long time. Like, what is your problem? Like, come on, snap, snap. So I think what you're saying is that as we face ourselves, it brings a peace and it brings a congruence or a coherence to these two parts of us, and
Yeah.
something turns on in us that I would say is probably like of etheric characteristics or above the five senses or
Yeah. It's not
psychic
about
psychic
controlling.
abilities. You know what I mean? Like psychic abilities. These
Yeah.
things, I feel, these things that we would utilize to build in a way we've never built before because they're being built from a harmonic vibration. And now we're talking about moving, as an example, moving a 50-ton stone and placing it perfectly as you construct a monolith or a pyramid. And again, I feel like whatever we've done in the past, we're actually going to be able to surpass it because, like you said, you're going to have the memories of Atlantis, you're going to have the memories of the Egyptian, the Lemurians, and etc. The technology, And that's another thing too, is
Yeah, we're not stepping out of the third dimension, which is
right.
this practical playing field. We're moving more love. We're bringing through the fifth dimensional aspects of ourselves, which ignites all those past lives that have all those gifts that we understood. Uh, you start to develop the gifts because now your logical mind or yourself within yourself is going, I'm going to accept this as something that is something, a gift for me to look into, rather
Yeah.
than shunning it,
Yeah.
telling it off, telling it to controlling it. We're stopping with all of that. We're coming back into cohesiveness of working within ourselves. All aspects, all imaginings is valid. Which ones do you want to choose to
Yeah.
ground? That's it's a choice still, but it's not a choice out of fear or control. It's a choice out of acceptance and just allowance of what we want to actually bring into this world. So we're no longer fighting and within
Yeah.
ourselves anymore. But that will expand everything, right? Because now we're going to have these beautiful etheric people that are really in tune with their intuition and their imagination, grounding these incredible businesses that are fun, that
Mm.
everybody can experience with them. It
Mm.
expands humanity no end. We
And
build
I
awesome
wonder
things.
too, yeah, I wonder too, if, because I look at it like, okay, as much as we have been rooted in this consciousness and like, why is it that I'm a multidimensional being and yet 99% of my awareness is here in this consciousness? Now we've had graduations from that over the years and all that, but it's like it's like a coffee break in the life. Like we look at this as the one life. That's kind of part of the distortion was this is all you have, right? You die and you go to heaven or hell and that's it. But it's actually one long life with all
Yeah.
these, this is more like a
That's
year in the
that's
life.
all the
Yeah.
masculine logical mind
Yeah.
could retain because the
Right.
masculine mind is programmed to only grab from the past, project into the future of this life only. It
Mm.
holds the lineal pattern so that we can have everything separated
Mm.
from us, so that we can actually have something tangible, but we don't put our finger through,
Mm.
If we didn't have that program, we would be in a dreamlike state.
Right. Right.
So it's the marrying of both of them coming together and realizing we can have magic in this world because we can now materialize things through our clarity and focus.
Mm.
See, they took me into a new earth experience. They took me to a potential experience that humanity could reach. And like I woke up in a dream that was so friggin' real. And when I woke up, my mind was still. Like it was so clear. But we had abilities. I had somebody coming to my home that was telepathically communicating with me. Oh, you're coming soon. Boom. They teleported there. So you've got all those other abilities that we can create with. You're above all of the program that's been pulling us under in a linear fashion, that program that's your dogma. You have to get in your car and go to work and do all the, everything the way I say it is. We're in a space where we can have the tangible things. I could tangibly touch things, but we also have the magic as well. So and you're going to see a lot more of that developing. You're going to see a lot more telepathic beings coming forth, people that were so-called magicians that aren't really, they were just hiding behind the veil of a magician, but they really have these abilities that are going to come forth. Children that are born with these abilities, we're going to have a lot more of this coming out. A lot more archaeological digs that are going to be found out about. They really need to get spiritual people on the archaeological digs because they're going to be able to get more information, not just in what I see and the five senses is what's there. They're going to be able to tell the story of what those objects are about and be able to use them again. We're going to be able to create them in a different way, and all conducive through love because we're now loving who we are in our fantasy world as well as our grounded world. We're loving both. Both are just as important.
Mm. Yes. Wow.
Yeah,
Big
beautiful.
stuff. Big stuff. And
Big stuff.
uh Yeah. And so, okay. Now, okay. So tell us again how people can find you and on the different platforms. And if you've got anything coming up or anything like that that you want to talk about and mention as well.
Okay. So I have a few things. I have my website, which is codestoanewreality.com. That you can go on that and find quite a few things. I'm an intuitive counselor, so you can book me for a reading, and I go into your soul and help you out and that sort of stuff. I'm also got a school called Amical that's on Patreon. So if you just look up Bobbie Richardson on Amical, you'll find the school called Amical. Amical is actually learning via intuition. That's in the Palladian language. That's what that means. So it's all telepathic games, lots of telepathic games and stuff like that, and a few lessons. I'm going live on that for the first time on Monday. So also, I have two YouTube channels. So one is Bobbie the Messenger. It's been up for a while. It's got a lot of stuff on there. So I decided to open up a new YouTube, and this is only like a month old. And that one's just hidden codes to the Ark of the Covenant is coming up. I'm actually going to publish that one after this. Hidden codes to the abundance, hidden codes to the trickster, hidden codes to our, I don't know, it's nature. There's all sorts of things on there at the moment, about 9 videos already. So they're very specific messages, put in beautiful videos with music, and it just feels really good. But it's also tuning you to expand your what you want to take out of it. You take out of it, leave the rest for someone else that understands it. It's all fine. You don't have to accept everything that's channeled. Please look at yourself first. Like you are your own best guide when it comes to any channel messages or anything that you see or hear from others. It's not about looking outside yourself. It's about feeling like you're and this feels right for you as you go along, because you've got your own beautiful story that's developing. Yeah, and I think that's really important so that we can have these diverse experiences as we move along.
Mm.
I think
Okay.
that's all of them. Amicable. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all of it.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. I hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Happy
Awesome.
birthday. Happy
Thank you.
birthday to you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your birthday day. And
Day.
and thank you for your service to humanity. And
You're very welcome.
I honor
And
the
thank you
work
for
that you're
yours
doing.
too.
Thank you. I honor the work you're doing, and I know uh, I know the things that you're bringing to the table are coming to fruition. I mean, it's already happening. So it's good to hear your perspective, and thank you for sharing, your experiences with us and being so open. And I hope
Thank
we can
you.
do this again sometime. I will see
Yeah, that'd
you.
be fun.
I will see you again on this side, the other side, or both. Okay.